the how to find the all the candidate keys in a table. And the candidate key is a simplified form of the super key. And let's say you have a table relation with 5 attributes u, v, w, x, and y, and these are the functional dependency of that table. U can determine v, and x can determine y. So now you have to find the candidate key, and you know that candidate key is the most simplified form of the super key. So first of all, we start with the super key, and simply if you combine all the columns together, then that composite key would definitely be that would be definitely a super key, because you can determine all the columns from that composite key. So let's say we combine all the columns of this table, and this is a super key. And now next we have to simplify these this super key. So we can simplify this super key keeping in mind the set of functional dependencies. And here you know that if you have u, you can determine v, because v has functional dependency on u. So if you have u, you can determine v. So we can simply remove v from this super key. So next we get because x can determine y. So here I removed y, because x can determine y, so we can remove y from here. And so I removed y from here. And next, because u can determine v, so we can remove v as well. So next we have u, w, x. So now we cannot simplify it further, so we are left with 3 attributes. So it may be the candidate key if the proper subset of this key is not a super key. So now we find the proper subsets of this key. So there may be different proper subsets, like u, w is a proper subset, and the attribute closure of uw is uwv, so it is not a super key. ux, not super key, not super key, not super key, not super key, and not super key. So the proper subsets of this key are not a super key, so we can safely say that this is a candidate key. Hence the candidate key is u, w, x, and the prime attributes are the u, w, and x. So prime attributes are those attributes which are part of the candidate key. So this is how we can find a candidate key. So to further explain the concept, we can take another example. Further, there is another point that if any of the prime attribute is present on the right hand side of the functional dependencies, then there may be more candidate keys. So to explain this thing, we see another example. Let's say you have a table with 4 columns, a relation with 4 attributes, u, v, w, and x, and these are the functional dependencies of that table. That u can determine v, v can determine w, and w can determine u. So first of all, we find the candidate key, which is the most simplified form of the super key. And first of all, we take a super key that we combine all the columns together, then definitely it would become a key. And next we start simplifying this key. So keeping in mind this dependency table, we know that u can determine v, and v can determine w, and w can determine u. So because u can determine v, so we can remove v from here. This is it. And as u can determine v and v can determine w, so it means you can also determine w, so we remove w as well. And finally we have this UX. So UX is a candidate key or not. For this we need to decompose it, and we need to see if the subset of this key is not a super key. So it has two subsets, U and X, and U itself is not a super key. You can verify it yourself, and X itself is also not super key. So UX is a candidate key. So next we need to find, are there any other candidate keys in this relation? So for that we will see if U or X is present on the right hand side of the functional dependencies. So here you know that U is present on the right hand side here. So we can replace this U with W and we get WX. So WX is the candidate key again, because W and X individually are not super keys. Similarly, again we see W is present on the right hand side, so we replace this W with V. So Vx is also candidate key because V and X individually are not super keys. And now we see that V is also present on the right hand side. So if we replace V with U, it becomes UX, and UX is already a candidate key. So here you can say we have three candidate keys: UX, WX, and VX. Thanks for watching.